Our guest today, Julie Schuster, is a well-known and probably one of the best designers in Manhattan and New York. I saw Julie when I saw an article that she was in. I think it was in Forbes. It was on the internet. And I was really fascinated by the way she has incorporated Feng Shui and into her wellness design and into her design business overall. And also we got to talking and we started talking about multi-generational family living together because of COVID and the pandemic. And so where you've got maybe grandparents and young kids and maybe a regular age marriage couple, you got everybody in the same house, and there's lots of design issues, a lot of, just kind of blending all that can be difficult for everybody. And Julie has the plan. She knows what to do, and she's got great advice for us. Julie is a certified living in place professional and ambassador. She's a red ribbon professional and an international Feng Shui guild. She is the owner of Julie Schuster Design Studio in Manhattan, New York. Welcome to the show, Julie.
Hi, Alex. How are you today?
I am fantastic. Good morning to you. Or
Thank
is
you,
it?
Thank you. It's a beautiful day here in New York. I hope it is for you too.
It is. It is absolutely wonderful, and it's absolutely wonderful having you here with us. And you and I have had some discussions about there's so much for us to talk about, with all of this COVID, with all of the ways our lives have changed for so many people, our living conditions. And I wanted to start out this morning with the multi-generational concept and some of your advice for families that have to live together.
Well, it's an interesting thing, and I don't want to spend all of our time talking about the coronavirus negativity and what it's all done to our lifestyle. But one of the interesting details that has come up in the last year is that, and it shocked me when I read this information. Do you know that in the last year, 25% of our population has moved?
Wow. No,
one quarter of us have relocated since this virus lockdown began. That's huge. That's huge.
I know where a bunch of them came.
A lot of what's happened has to do with, of course, not elder family members needing care, but younger family members needing to be able to bubble because they lost jobs, right, because they graduated from college and the job they thought they had disappeared, because kids can't go to school where they are, so they need to relocate to a place that's a little bit larger. That's one of the reasons a lot of people have left New York City. So there are myriad reasons why people are choosing who they want to bubble with, at least for this period of time. And so that really brings an entirely different dynamic to how we go about creating our multi-generational living situations now.
And particularly when you're having to blend older, like grandparent age, and then younger kids.
Well, as long as everyone is doing this voluntarily, it becomes a different dynamic when we're trying to, coerce someone into doing something that they're not ready to do or not willing to do. And that's often what happens with elder family members, is they really want to retain their autonomy and their independence for as long as humanly possible. So the most important thing is that we all proceed from a space of, wanting to create a dynamic that works for everybody.
And that's often difficult to do because, like you say, particularly the older people they want their autonomy, but also they don't want to feel like they're invading their kids' space.
Well, an interesting thing is, we're becoming, as we all know, we're becoming a much more international country culturally. And the thing that is interesting about it to me is, other parts of the world have always embraced the family enveloping the elders into the family circle for generations. That is just a lifestyle option that they're used to. Our country is one of the few that really developed this entire, single family unit type of lifestyle. So this is something that, we're trying to adapt to, that others have been doing forever.
Well, it's interesting you brought that up, because I know that in my experience in my life, up until my generation, the older parents always lived in the home. My grandmother lived with us, and the generation before her generation did the same thing. Of course, they were all on farms and things like that, but the old folks stayed in the house, and that's where they died, and that's how I think it ought to be. But you're right, that's different. So now we've got these smaller homes that are full of people, and you have introduced Feng Shui into your design business in really a different way than a lot of people. And one of the questions I asked Julie a few days ago is there an American version of Feng Shui? We've Americanized everything else. And so, because it's an ancient Chinese, I guess you would call it a philosophy. I'm not sure the right term there. And it's really intense. It's a lifestyle. It's not just decorating the house. There's a lot more to it than that.
Well, there is. One of the beautiful things about Feng Shui is I was taught to think of Feng Shui rather like an onion. It has many layers to it, and you can do a lot that is really beneficial by just peeling off the first few layers. Mm-hmm. You don't have to dig all the way down to the core in order to reap the benefits or to do things the right way. It's a matter of really how you want to go about your practice.
Can you be selective about that? Can you decide you want to integrate something maybe into your bedroom or your living room, or do you need to have like an all-in approach?
You've hit precisely my point. My training is in what is generally referred to as universal Feng Shui, which is, if you will, a slightly more westernized version. It incorporates BTB, it incorporates all of the other more ancient practices in it, but we apply them in a slightly more modern way, which I guess, if you will, makes it more Western mm-hmm. right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm. And because the people I've talked to before, Feng Shui, the people that practice it and live it, they swear by it. It brings them wealth. It brings them happiness. It brings them fertility. It is just an amazing thing to undertake. And it's really so different than what we're used to in our Western lifestyle that I would imagine there just has to be some compromise somewhere along the line.
So much of Feng Shui, really, if you think about it, a lot of people believe in manifesting positive intent. A lot of people will create vision boards for their future, what they want to see their career do, and what they want to see their romantic life become. Really, applying Feng Shui practices in the way I do it, through my interior design work, is a lot of very much the same thing. It has to do with understanding why we're doing some of the things that we're doing, and accepting and manifesting what we want to see the outcome be by virtue of what we put into our environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely amazing. It really is. And I love the Eastern philosophies, and we've also looked at Vastu Shastra, which is very interesting. It's sort of the Indian version of Feng Shui, if you could call it that. And it's basically taking, and I believe if I understand it right, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we're taking kind of earth elements and incorporating them into our lives to bring us some peace and some balance.
Well, the basis of Feng Shui really has to do with what they call 5-element theory. Mm-hmm. And those 5 elements are water, earth, metal, wood, and I just lost one. And fire, excuse me, there we go. And so there you go. Earth element is one of the critical 5 elements that are the 5 elements that make up everything.
Right.
Make up you, make up me, make up the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about Earth and what Earth naturally brings to an environment is, as you say, and it's a very easy thing to understand from a Western philosophy. It brings us grounding. It keeps us connected to our core, to our planet, to our hopes and dreams. This is our grounding.
Give us a brief example of how you would incorporate this into a design element for,
Sure.
I don't know, maybe a bedroom, bathroom.
Well, whichever room. I mean, every room in the house, of course, has different levels of importance. But let's talk about a bedroom. A bedroom is a very important room in our house. Certainly the primary bedroom, for sure. And what we do in the beginning is we talk about the people that are going to be inhabiting that space. What are their primary elements? Are they earth? Are they fire? What are they? And then we talk about whether we need to either enhance or increase the level of that particular element in the space based upon the architecture, based upon the direction the room faces, etc., or whether we want to drain it or quiet it and reduce it. The colors that I would start working with then would be the colors of the particular elements that we either want to reduce or enhance, or how we go about doing so. In other words, if we have, let's say, if we have too much metal, well, we can quiet that by adding earth. Or we can enhance that by adding earth, or we can quiet it by adding wood. So either way, we can either make more of a particular element, bring more, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to balance, achieve the right type of balance for everyone that's going to be inhabiting it.
That is really, and there's no end to that, is there?
It's an onion. You can keep peeling off more layers.
You can just keep peeling
We
back
can
more
get into
layers.
It's not particularly my specialty, but we can get into electromagnetic fields and what's happening there.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about the direction facing of the space. So it has a lot to do with that. It also has a lot to do with making sure that our energy that flows in through the mouth of Qi, which is generally the front door in my philosophies, doesn't stagnate and lay in one place. We want energy to keep flowing. Mm-hmm. I like to think of energy as rather like what you would see a river doing, or water when you spill a glass and it starts to spread out all over the space that it can inhabit. We want it to keep moving. We don't want it to go too fast. We don't want it to stop and stagnate. We want it to meander through, pick up the old stagnant energy, leave a vacuum so that nature can bring more fresh new energy in and keep things in a positive way.
And I love the idea that you are essentially, this is designed around the people that are in the dwelling, correct?
Absolutely.
How does that work?
Critical element here.
It's their personalities. How do you establish that?
Well, in Eastern philosophy, their form of astrology is called 9-star key. So it really has to do with, month, day, year of birth. It can get into time of day of birth, and that is how we come back to the different elements that we're talking about. Generally, I decorate toward primary element.
So more layers of that onion.
Yeah, we all have at least 3 layers of element in our personalities. Yes,
we just keep
absolutely.
peeling that onion back till we get to where we need to be. That is
Absolutely.
So fascinating. And
you made a very interesting comment before. Do we concentrate on everything? No, we can't concentrate on everything at the same time. And I'm kind of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's again that Western philosophy a little bit. So let's talk about what's important to these people and what they want to enhance too. That also matters.
That is truly amazing, and I really, really appreciate you coming on with us today. Just to let the audience know, I got my times mixed up and kind of threw Julie for a loop, and here she shows up, beautiful, gorgeous, amazing.
Thank you.
What we already knew, of course. And And I hope we can follow this up with some more interviews about more of this, because I think it's so fascinating and I think it's so helpful to people that are doing it. Thank you so much for coming on with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Julie. Julie Schuster, Julie Schuster Design Studio in Manhattan, New York.